G'day Flosstube, Anna aka Moranolis, back with another stitching update. It is Friday, December 18th. Hope you are all doing well. Looking forward to the Christmas holidays. I expect Christmas is going to look a bit different for a lot of people this year. We are in the lucky spot of being able to have my in-laws and one of my sister-in-laws come visit us for Christmas. So they arrive in 2 days? A bit more. Anyway, I wanted to get this done because I knew once they arrived, all time was going to evaporate. So here we are. Just ducking in with one quick thing I forgot to mention. So those of you who know, I've been around a while, you know I'm fairly active with the local community center, and we do Christmas markets every year, you know, Santa for the kids, all the rest of that. I thought some of you might get a kick out of the Australian Christmas and Santa's arrival and all that, because in Australia, Santa very frequently arrives to see all the kids on a fire truck. So at the end of the video, I will put a little snippet from the markets of Santa's grand arrival in Australia. Not a whole lot to report on the life side of things. The she shed is still very much a work in progress. I think every time I filmed lately I've been at a different spot. Today I'm just sitting on a mattress on the ground because that was a convenient place to be. But we have, I will insert a picture for those of you who have been following the she shed building. We have the floor 100% tiled and grouted. And it was washed to get the film of the grout off, although it looks absolutely filthy now with all the rest of the wood chip dust and stuff that has come off as my husband's been drilling in trim and stuff like that. The aircon is the current project, which I am really looking forward to the aircon. It is hot at the moment. It is really sweltering in here today. And I have the fan on, but I can't feel it at all. But that's just par for the course for living in tropics. If you are new here, this channel is not about she sheds, really. It's about cross stitch. And so welcome to anybody that's new. Actually, that reminds me, I have had a couple of notifications of new subscribers. So if you're new, or if you've been around a while, I always like to know how you guys found me. So if you haven't told me, let me know. Particularly if you've been put onto my channel by another Flosstuber, so that I can go watch them and say thank you and all that jazz. Really appreciate it. And welcome back to anybody who's been here for ages and keeps putting up with me. I'm not entirely sure why, but you know, it's all good. I enjoy your company. This week we actually have some very untypical cross stitch for me. I have a finish. I have 2 new starts, and I have a finished cross stitching ready to start beading. Normally when you come see my videos, it's just, oh, more work on the same half a dozen pieces, but this week we have, yeah, new stuff and almost done stuff and done stuff, and I'm not entirely sure how this all happened, but yeah, we take it what we can get. So let's start with the finish, shall we? I haven't yet, but I am going to insert a video, I'm going to do one of the up close so you can get the details. So right at the moment, I'll just show you the overview of Enchantress of the Abyss. Yep. So this is the Filipina Designs. Apparently this is really hard. Don't believe any of those floss tubers that make it look natural and easy. It's not. So yeah, Filipina Designs, Enchantress of the Abyss. I changed her skin tone to a more Korean looking skin tone for my niece. And this will go back to my niece at some point. The original plan had been that I would have this finished and FFO'd before we went to the US last June. Clearly with COVID, we did not go back to the US last June. So all of the urgency to get her finished went out the window. Now that she is finished, I'm not entirely sure whether I should wait to send this, or wait until I can take it to my niece versus send it. And obviously if you mail it, mailing a small piece of fabric is a lot easier than a framed or fully finished thing. So yeah, my thoughts are at the moment, I fully finish it and I hold on to it. My guess is that it'll be at least 2 years at this point before we get back now. Or do I send it to my mom and ask her to frame it on my behalf and give it to my cousin, or niece, so she doesn't have to wait forever? Don't want her to grow up and outgrow sparkly mermaids, but then, you know, my 15-year-old wants a sparkly mermaid, you'll see in a minute too, so maybe she won't. So that was Enchantress of the Abyss. I will insert that snippet of the details here. Words are hard. All right, so we have an up-close look at the Enchantress of the Abyss by Bella Filipina Designs. And before I forget, this is done on a 32 count Color Cascades Dark Fantasy. So it's a lovely piece of fabric. But being 32 count, the biggest issue with the beads was getting them all to fit. So there's a lot of fudging of the beads from what was originally called for on the pattern. And apologies in advance if this whole image goes kitty wampus, because you're very precariously propped and I'm leaning right over the top of you. So this may not end well. So you can see there's some quite large beads in this design, quite a few of them. They are not my favorite. They never sit very nice and flat. I do all my Delica, Mill Hills, etc. on a full cross so that they sit straight up and down rather than an angle. And those big ones, the size 8 and 6, particularly the 6, which is the larger. I think these are the 8s and these are the 6s. So those ones don't bother me too bad. These ones I really don't like, particularly in, like, I'm assuming that's meant to be earring, and it just looks like gob. I seriously debated on those two, just switching them out for the very small pearl Delicas. Apparently I just don't like gob. But yeah, I will try not to spend the entire day fixing beads, but like I said, they kind of irk me because they don't sit straight, and it's the first thing I always notice. These bugle beads were very challenging too on a 32 count. They don't fit across 3 stitches. They might on a 28, but on a 32 they're definitely closer to 4 stitches long. So there was some adjustment and stretching things out to make those fits. So there's acres and acres of beads in this thing. As I think I noted in the main video, I did change her skin tone. She uses the same palette as Queen Sari in the charted skin tones, and I actually haven't looked at Enchantress of the Abyss, but I'm assuming that's the same skin palette. I think I had this discussion with Maya. Maya's decided on Enchantress of the Abyss to stick with the original, whereas this one I wanted to look a bit more like my niece, who's of Korean and Chinese descent. And I mean, geez, with that black hair, it's the easiest conversion out there, isn't it? So some quite large flower-shaped, I don't know what the technical term is for that shape of stone, quite pretty. I use invisible thread to attach mine, so it's quite easy. I basically, you can just sort of see the thread a little bit. I come up through the center 3 times and I go out in a triangle shape, and then that's not moving or going anywhere. Similar for these larger flower treasures, come up through the middle and triangle around several of the petals, and that's how they stay. What else? All this metallic was originally charted to be tri-knit, and I switched it out for petite treasure braid. Kept the same colors, essentially just swapped out the brand. Those some more of those big size 6 beads. Yeah, a few treasures. These are probably my least favorite of the way to try and attach them securely, because they only have a hole up the top. Doesn't seem to matter. Like, I always do 2 runs through it, but that's always going to go flicking and flying around because it's not attached to anything. But there's not enough of a shape to come down the front and try and hold it down. So those sort of beads are always a bit more mobile. But anyway, all down the tail we have acres and acres of beads. You'll see right in there. Whoop, see what I meant about bumping you? There is these pink beads. I converted some of them throughout the tail to a treasure braid. And so I think I was mentioning in one of my videos earlier that this would have been a spot where I would have considered keeping with the beads, so that ridge coming around was intact in beads, whereas I've got a gap at the moment with metallic treasure braid, but I don't think I'm going to change it. I think it looks just fine as she is. So by the time we get down to her tail, we have lots more bugle beads and fribbles off. You can see I put my signature in there, tried to slide it in between some of the fins so it wasn't so noticeable. It is in through here. There was meant to be a lot of those pink beads. All that pink metallic. It's meant to be pink beads. And yeah, I just thought that was really kind of overkill. But again, you can see out here where it would have gone into a nice ridge. So I think you could have basically kept those ones down there probably as well. But I guess I'm happy enough with how the tail came out. Oh, I'm probably twisting you guys, sorry. It's a really hard angle to get you in. I'm happy enough that the ridge is much more subtle and a bit broken up, and that it's kind of highlights. I think I'm happy enough with that look. But definitely if you'd kept to the original charted, you'd have a lot more beads through here. There was 2 packs. I'm sure this pink color up here, and another pack that I needed 2 packs. I suspect if you had done the full, in fact I think the other one was the little white ones. If you had kept with all the pink beads through the tail, you might have needed 2 packs of the pink beads as well. But, so that is the Pearl of the Orient Seas. So, I'm pretty pleased with how she's come out. These pieces have quite limited back stitching. You can see there's a little bit around her hands and face to give nice detail and stuff, but there's very little through her hair and her fins and whatnot. I think about the only thing there is yeah, like in a star, there might be a couple of long stitches, and on these swirls, there's a few long stitches in between the beads. But if you detest back stitching, these are maybe a good choice. Ooh, Mr. Ant, you are not allowed to hang out on my piece. Because it is, excuse me, quite limited. There is a little bit of back stitching in the shell, but honestly in the camera you can't even see it. In person you can, but it's very subtle. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed that look at the Pearl of the Orient Seas, and I will see you back in the main video. Alright, so not quite a finish, but we finished the cross stitch, is my Celtic Summer. So she is entirely ready for beading. This is Celtic Summer by Lavendar and Lace. Um, 28 count cashel linen, hand dyed by myself, and I'm calling it my tropical sunset conversion. I will find the image from, I think it was called Stitch Palettes, that I took the color scheme from, and insert that. And yes, I will give you guys my full conversion once I've sorted the beads. So hopefully next video, I really want to have her not fully finished. I want to have the beading finished before the end of the year. So hopefully my first video in the new year, I'll show you her complete, and I will have organized the conversion for anybody who's interested in the details of the colors I used, all that jazz. That's the plan. So I have started just a thread and a bit of beads. Those are the gold 557 beads. They are not the called for bead color. It was a champagne sort of color that was called to go in there, but I thought with my color choice, the true gold was a better choice. So as far as what I had to finish her skin is all new. I've left her the original charted skin tones and hair colors and stuff. The outside border was all finished. I think there was a marginal bit in her dress left that I had to finish. So I'm really stoked with how the stitching part of it has come out. And I'm looking forward to getting more beads into her. I have picked, I'm fairly confident about 4 out of the 5 bead choices. I'm going back and forth on number 5, but we're going to make it work. Because I really, like I said, want to get her done before the end of the year so I can call her a 2020 finish. I probably will not start any of the other seasons in the short term because, as I said, I have 2 starts to show you now, and I actually have a 3rd that is not very far away. So, as per Pearl of the Orient, I will do a details up close when she's actually fully finished in beading so that you can get a better look at the details for her. So, now, if you've been hanging around, you will know that eldest daughter got her stocking. I started it when she was an infant. She got it in time to graduate. I had 0 intention of doing stockings for any of the other kids, but then my little one started, little one, it's Oliver, you know, he's what, 12? I'm sure he's 12. Said he wanted a stocking, so, you know, good mothers have to do stockings. So, this is going to be Oliver's stocking, and it officially got started, I think, literally right after we filmed the last Flosstube. So, it got about a full week's worth of progress, and it now looks like this. So obviously it's a Stoney Creek stocking. It is 32 count Murano fabric. I wrote it down so I wouldn't always be sitting here going, I don't know what it is. That's what it is. You can see I've started in the Lighthouse a little bit. I've got windows and trees and this house sitting over here on the side. The snowman is done except for the white in it. With this sort of piece that has a lot of white, I tend to leave the white till the very end. So that snowman is basically done until I get to the very end of the project. And I will put all the white in at one hit at the end so it doesn't get dirty, or that's the theory. Because Celtic summer is now ready for beading, I won't be dragging her around town and in the car because that's just too hard to bead in the car. And so this has gone in instead. I just figured between this piece and the mermaid I'm going to show you next, the mermaid was far more likely just to get pulled out randomly for work, whereas this I am a bit afraid it will become a bit like amber stocking, and I'll just, yeah, whatever, I don't feel like it, and never get done. So if it lives in the car and I'm sitting at the coffee shop with nothing better to do, at least it'll get some stitches. It's a 32 count Murano. It's one of those printed ones. I thought that was a really nice printed background for a wintry scene. So I think that'll turn out right. Good. So the last one we're doing, last start I have, is Enchantress of the Abyss, another Bella Filipina. So I had ordered this and a couple of other charts from Journey of a Stitcher, and my daughter saw this particular one in the pile and instantly fell in love. Must have that one, Mom. So I am doing that one for her. And we picked out a couple of Under the Sea fabrics to try with it. And so this was her choice. It's getting blown out with that window. But the color you're seeing is a bit washed out, but better than any of the photographs I've been able to take. All the photographs. I even tried to take them outside in the daylight this morning, and the color of the fabric was just ugh. Anyway, so we have, at this point, until the sun went, it was better coloring. We have a lot of hair. A lot of hair. So this is actually where shoulder comes in, so we have reached a bit of the farthest extent. We do have a bit more that comes up around to her head. But I would say the bulk of her hair at this point is done. There's a few metallics and stuff that go in here that I don't actually have yet. Some of those should show up in the mail, hopefully, before too long. But, I mean, there's acres of regular DMC to go in this thing, so I'm not too worried about when they show up or how long it takes. So, yeah, that is Enchantress of the Abyss, and it's on Under the Sea fabrics, 28 count opal linen in Midnight Mermaid. So when I asked Maya what she wanted for her background fabric, whether she wanted opalescent or flat, she basically said, duh, Mom, sparkly. So we have opalescent. And then when we were, we were getting real detailed look at the fabric and deciding which side to stitch on. This side had, oh yeah, you can see them in the camera, a few splotchy bits. One side looked a bit limier up in the top bit than the other. And anyway, in this, obviously, she ended up choosing this. But right up here in this corner, yeah, it is showing a bit in the camera. It's just a bit like the linen fibers have been damaged. It just feels a little bit fuzzy. And obviously it's taken the dye just a little bit differently. So I was pointing it out that, worst case scenario, by the time we mount it and stuff, you probably might just see a little bit in the corner. And her answer was, oh, well, that's all right, Mom, because we'll just cover it with flowers and see things. So apparently we are going to end up mounting it a bit like I did Queen Sari and some of those other projects where I had a frame and various bits around it. Try and find a picture and stick it in so you guys know what I'm talking about. So that is it for my work in progress and my new starts and my finishes. As far as plans, biggest plan is to try and push out as many beads into Celtic summer as possible to get that off the to-do list. I do have one more start that's planned. This one's a bit of a special start. Maya has actually charted something for me. So I fully expect this will be a little bit of a back and forth as we figure out what we want, basically. But I need to, the biggest thing is at the moment trying to figure out what fabric I want to put it on. And I think I'm just going to go for a plain white linen. I think. And I feel, in some ways, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do that, because that's just such a cop-out to have boring white linen. But I think that's what I'm going to do. None of the other hand-dyed pieces that I have are particularly calling to me for that project, and I can't think of a color scheme or whatever that I think would call to me for that project. So by default, I think it's going to be white. So hopefully you'll get a look at that one next week, and I will have started it, and that will probably be the end of my starts for a while. Unless the chatelaine should accidentally show up. You never know. I do have some haul that's coming, but it's not here yet, so again, maybe that's next week. Yeah, beyond that, I don't think I have much to say. It's going to be a bit of a short and sweet video. Hope everybody is doing well, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.